So let's look at some examples of job aggregators. And these are these giant search engines that search all over, and some have more than just that function, but these are some critical things for you to find jobs, but also for you to be found as well. And the first one, and the big kind of gorilla of this whole thing, is LinkedIn. And we're going to have a whole big section coming up on how to build your LinkedIn profile to make it even better for you to be found by potential recruiters and employers. And also, if you're applying directly to jobs, how you can be, if somebody's checking your LinkedIn profile, that you can really stand out from the competition, for those jobs. But LinkedIn has over 575 million users. LinkedIn is the world's most popular social media platform for networks and professionals. You have Facebook, which is more personal, but LinkedIn is where companies go, where people go in their career or professional life. And with that many users all around the world, it is really the big thing for finding jobs. And you really do need to have a great profile so people can find you and searching for jobs. And that's coming up, as I mentioned. Companies will reach out scanning for profiles. They can scan for keywords and they'll find candidates, and they'll reach out directly to candidates and recruit them from the site. So they might not even post a job. They might just be like, okay, let's go find somebody for this, whatever, web design position or this marketing position or accounting or whatever it might be. And then they'll do a search maybe for a local area. Particularly a small medium company might do that too, and just reach out to people directly and not even bother with posting a job formally online. The features include targeted job promotion, recommended matches, and candidate management. That's for the hiring companies. And you have the ability to share posts and publish your own content on the platform, which helps you as far as search, helps you to be found. Also can really show what you're capable of, maybe from an article you wrote or something you're sharing, or maybe you're sharing samples of your work. Maybe you're a graphic designer and you're sharing samples of your work on your LinkedIn profile or sharing content through that way. And that helps boost your own standing through the LinkedIn social media part of the engine. And so LinkedIn is very attractive to both employers and job seekers, and really a must in today's age as far as having a great LinkedIn profile. It's not just enough to be on LinkedIn or to have a profile or to have an old profile. When you're out looking for a job, you need to have an up-to-date, really specific job profile that we're going to go into great detail, and almost a course within the course coming up. We'll walk you through how to build a great profile. And so why is this so important? Why is LinkedIn so important? Well, let's look at a couple statistics here. One statistic here is that 87% of recruiters use LinkedIn to find candidates for jobs. Whether that job is posted or not, these recruiters, whether for a company or an outside recruiting firm, are using LinkedIn to help find candidates, to go search for candidates. 87%. So if it's that high, don't you want to be on LinkedIn and make your profile and everything easily to be found by these recruiters, easy to scan, easy to find, easy to select you, easy to reach out to you? Of course you do. So that's 87%. Now look at this number, even higher. 94% of recruiters use LinkedIn to vet job candidates. So that's that screening process. Or maybe it's after after the hiring manager has looked at the people, the hiring manager or recruiter or human resources is going to then look at their LinkedIn profile, the final 3 or final 5 candidates, and get a feel for those candidates in greater detail through LinkedIn. So people with outstanding LinkedIn profiles and presence on LinkedIn really can show off and show real better than those who really haven't spent much time on it or not on it. So that's real critical too. So very, very powerful numbers there as far as 87% finding you and 94% are using it to vet. So very, very powerful, and we'll have a whole section on LinkedIn. Other job aggregators include one I like that I've used a lot is Indeed. So this is where you could go in and look yourself specifically for jobs, like you can do through LinkedIn too. But Indeed is really, their main function is a job aggregator. They're to match up candidates and companies for jobs. That's all they do. And you can see it's a pretty simple, if you go to Indeed.com, you can see it's a very simple interface, right? You put in the job title or keywords or maybe a company you're looking for, and then what location it is. It's that simple. It's easy to use. It's in over like 60 countries. I think it's even higher than that now. It keeps growing. You have the ability to post your resume. It takes a few seconds, as it says. So you can post your resume and people can find you. And employers can post jobs too. That's really what the function is. The employers can post jobs and search resumes as well. So it's bringing job applicants and job companies or hiring employees or hiring companies together. Very easy to use, and I like it. You'll find it's that easy to use. I recommend you take a peek at Indeed in addition to what you'll do on LinkedIn. And then there's other ones that are very similar to Indeed. And you can see here Simply Hired, kind of the same kind of deal, right? You put in, almost looks like the same format. It's easy to use. One thing Simply Hired does is they'll actually show you salary estimates by each job post there. And those are really estimates. Sometimes a job will actually put the salary range in the job, and you can find that. But Simply Hired will give you, at least as an applicant, give you a feel for what that position might pay. Now, that's a real estimate. Don't use it as that's what the final pay. It might be higher, it might be lower. But at least you can get an estimate if you're really just kind of trying to look at different types of job titles, particularly if you're looking at me as a job changer or your career changer, you don't get a feel for salary. You can go to salary.com to get estimates, but Simply Hired will give you some estimates and give you estimates by location too. Typically is what they do. Living in New York City, for example, is very expensive, or London's very expensive, and they pay a little bit higher in those expensive areas than maybe you're in a more rural area than a major city. ZipRecruiter is another one. I think they're more US based, but they're easy to use. And employers like it because you can upload screening questions. Some of the other folks have probably added that by now, but or do that possibly too. But ZipRecruiter really promotes that I can post my job and I can put a screening question right up there. Like, are you willing to relocate, or what are your salary requirements? Again, just to screen people out. If you're not willing to relocate, then they say, okay, we're not even going to talk to you. So it's all a screening process. But that's another one out there. As for ZipRecruiter. Glassdoor is unique too, and they've gotten more into the, where you can post resumes and apply to jobs and things like that directly on their site. Glassdoor is mostly known for kind of that insider information about companies. It's really designed where employees or former employees of the company can post information about the company and give a rating for the company. Here's an example of 3M, and somebody, who's a current employee. In their position, they wrote, good work-life balance and friendly culture. It seems great. It's good flexibility. Isn't 3M great? So Glassdoor is pretty global. They're owned by the same company that owns Indeed, Recruit Holdings, and it gives you that insider information that you can find there. Now, here's the problem, though, and you need to really be wary of this. Is think about if people are more likely to complain than to praise. Think about if you went to a restaurant and you had a bad experience, you're more likely to tell your friends and family, maybe even post something online saying, I hate this restaurant, I give them a bad review, they were mean to me, whatever, food was cold, whatever. Than if you had a good experience, or even if you had a great experience. So it tends to skew towards the disgruntled. And Glassdoor, more so than anything, tends to skew towards the disgruntled. So just be aware of that Glassdoor can, is more disgruntled. And the thing with Glassdoor too, and we've had this happen where people don't disclose the real truth about them sometimes too. Like I've had to, let's say, terminate people because they've embezzled from the company or they've stolen from us in some way. They've stolen money, and they won't they'll post a scathing review on Glassdoor. Oh, terrible company, managers are horrible people, and all that kind of stuff. And they forget to mention I was fired because I stole from the company. Maybe that would be good information to share. But just be aware of that with Glassdoor. So it can be interesting to look at. Maybe if you're going through an interview process, you might get some tidbits. But as a job aggregator, not so great. And certainly be wary of the reviews. Another thing, too, that we're seeing more on is Google. Of course, Google search is so big, of course. And Google Jobs is newer and is always expanding and growing. And you can put in a title, here's an example, software engineer jobs in New York City. You just type that into search and Google will pull that up for you. And they do some things with companies. It's not so much where you can post your resume and stuff, though that could change. They're always adapting. So take a look because that could change at any moment. But really it's more about filters and the search engine. And it's really for recruiters working with Google Jobs to help them with their search. It's really about them being able to post their jobs on, let's say, their own website in a better manner that helps with search and being able to find them through Google Jobs, using structured data and some other technical things to help people find when they type in looking for that software engineer job in New York City, that their job will rise to the top. And you can see there's a case study you can take a look at with ZipRecruiter. Actually, structured some of their stuff to make the Google search even better for when people are looking, and they might be finding things that are listed on ZipRecruiter, which is its own kind of job board / job aggregator, very interrelated there. So it's not so much like Indeed, it's more for employers, but you can search for jobs yourself by putting in the information into just the regular Google search engine. In addition, we talked about LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is a social network for professionals. Facebook has gotten into the job search business, and they're more for personal life, but there's business stuff on there too. And for Facebook, it's free for a business to post jobs on Facebook. So it's real easy. Small and medium businesses love it because it's free. You can pay a fee, like a lot of things with Facebook. You can put, some advertising and pay a fee, and the more fee you pay, the better it might be found in job search, or in an advertising search. Same thing with job search. You can post it for free, it might be found, but if you pay a fee for the hiring company, it'll rise to the top and be more likely to be sponsored or found as far as with that paid content. It's global, of course. Facebook is in many nations very global, and it's very social, like LinkedIn too. So you can be posting on there, and it's more than just a job search. But as you can see, you can put in a job, you can put in a location. There's some filters they actually have here, unlike Google has at the time. You can put in some filters like full-time, part-time. You can look by specific categories. You can have hit the subscribe button so you get alerted about new job openings there. That's up on the right there. And you can apply directly through Facebook. Now I mentioned it's social, like LinkedIn and other social media platforms, and you need to be cautious about that, because it's not only your professional profile, but it's your personal profile. LinkedIn, you can be really separate and really just be professional. That's why LinkedIn is so important. But Facebook, you might have, people you're following or things you're talking about that are more your personal life, and some things that are personal you might not want to have employers looking at or sharing with. And also you need to be cautious about what your own posting and what you're following there too. Some good things to post about, like puppies. Puppies are good to follow. Everybody loves puppies. People like kittens. Look at this guy here. He's wearing glasses. He's trying to read. Doesn't he realize he's a kid? He can't read. What's he trying to do? So, those are good things, right? Everybody loves puppies and kittens. What people don't like is anger. Anger on Facebook. You might be very passionate about something, whatever it is. You might be very passionate about it. Maybe the passion of where you put some angry posts out there, or they could be perceived that way. And just understand that an employer is looking at that, or especially if you're applying through Facebook and they're going to look at that, just to be aware that it might not put you in the best light as far as that anger around there. And religion and politics, I think it's good actually to talk about religion and politics in a personal setting. I think we'd be all better off if we had better communication. But, from an employer and trying to get a job standpoint, religion and politics, a couple of things to try to stay away from, at least during your job search part. For sure, because it just might not match up with what that hiring manager is looking for. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It might be a way to knock you out or screen you out as opposed to help you. You might be real passionate about anti-smoking, for example, and you're just really against smoking. You want to have anti-smoking laws, and if you're applying to a job that's a cigarette company, you probably wouldn't, but let's say you were, you're probably not going to get hired, or if they, start their vetting process, they say, this person doesn't like what we do. So you might stay away from that. I knew a person, for example, also another example, was very passionate about guns. He was a ex-military special forces, and he was very, the right to own guns was very important to him politically, and could post some very angry posts on that. Now, obviously, there's lots of people who might support that position, but there's lots and lots of people who'd be dead against that position, and they might be a great candidate for a job, and maybe the number one candidate, but they look at some of his posts and say, no, not for us, and we're going to pass on him. So just be aware of that when you're posting. Post things that are, for at least for that period, certainly, and maybe ongoing, just be aware that people can see your social media presence, and be aware of that when you're job searching. When in doubt, things that are easy and lots of people like, and more innocuous things about your friends, family, where you might be going, whatever it might be. A big recommendation, koalas. Yes, koalas. Everybody loves koalas. Well, maybe there's a controversy between what's cuter, a koala or a panda bear. I don't know. Either way, you're pretty safe with koalas. So on that note, let's end on that happy koala note and understand job aggregators, particularly LinkedIn, we're going to get in great detail on, but use like Indeed and some other ones too to help find jobs that you can either post your resume or apply directly to jobs, and you start playing around with and start looking at these different jobs that are out there using a job aggregator. Bye-bye, koala.